Baik, selamat datang dan terima kasih telah hadir dalam pertunjukan Storyteller for the Earth. Sebelum kami memulai, kami ingin menyampaikan bahwa proyek ini terlaksana melalui dukungan Connections Through Culture Grant 2025 dari British Council. Ini adalah program yang mendorong kolaborasi kreatif dan pertukaran budaya antara seniman di Inggris dan berbagai negara di Asia Pasifik. Tapi yang untuk storyteller sepertinya ini yang pertama kali. Jadi teman-teman di sini sangat beruntung. Baik, kita akan menyaksikan sebuah kolaborasi lintas budaya yang mempertemukan dua pendongeng berpengalaman. Ada Rona Mentari dari Indonesia, beri tepuk tangan. Dan juga Roi Gal-Or dari Inggris. Melalui kekuatan cerita, mereka mau mengajak kita untuk menjelajahi hubungan manusia dengan alam dan kebijaksanaan yang telah diwariskan dari generasi ke generasi. Storyteller for the Earth adalah proyek yang berangkat dari sebuah pertanyaan sederhana. Bisa nggak ya cerita-cerita dulu yang nenek moyang kita ceritakan membantu kita saat ini memahami tantangan lingkungan yang kita hadapi hari ini. Hari ini kita kepanasan banget ya, suhu kalau nggak salah 30 derajat Celcius. Makanya saya nggak pakai sesi pemanasan ini, langsung saja sudah panas semua ya. Dan proyek ini kolaborasi kedua pendongeng ini, mereka akan mengeksplorasi cerita-cerita rakyat dari budaya masing-masing dan menghubungkannya dengan isu-isu ekologis yang sangat relevan saat ini. Sebelum terjadi acara ini, Roy dan Rona sudah melakukan sesi kolaborasi daring selama 10 kali. Mereka saling bertukar perspektif budaya, ternyata ada yang sama ya, kebanyakan sama ya. Terus mengeksplorasi tema-tema lingkungan, lalu mereka meramu menjadi pertunjukan hari ini. Mereka juga melakukan riset, refleksi secara mandiri untuk menemukan titik temu antara tradisi, cerita, dan kepedulian terhadap bumi. Lalu sebelum ini juga ada residensi untuk bertukar pikiran dan langsung berlatih bersama. Oke, sore ini kita nggak hanya mendengarkan cerita, kita berharap ya untuk bisa melihat bagaimana cerita-cerita tradisional dapat berbicara tentang persoalan nyata hari ini. Dan kadangkala cerita itu bisa mengubah dunia. Kita perlu mengubah cara kita memandangnya. Dan makanya hari ini ada cerita untuk teman-teman semua. Baik, sebelum kita mulai saya mau memperkenalkan siapakah pendongeng kita hari ini. Roi Gal-Or adalah storyteller, performer, dan fasilitator workshop internasional dengan pengalaman lebih dari 20 tahun. Beliau merupakan salah satu pendiri School of Storytelling serta penggagas program Healing Words dan Storytelling Beyond Words yang menggunakan storytelling sebagai ruang membangun empati, koneksi, dan dialog lintas budaya. Jadi kalau teman-teman di sini tertarik untuk ikut sekolahnya bisa di Inggris, ada teman-teman bisa menyimak karyanya di website roigalor.com. Berikutnya, Rona Mentari adalah teman saya. Iya, memang teman saya. Beliau adalah aktivis dan performer storytelling dari Indonesia dengan pengalaman lebih dari 20 tahun dalam menghidupkan kembali tradisi tutur melalui pertunjukan kontemporer. Ia mendirikan Rumah Dongeng Mentari pada tahun 2010 sebagai ruang komunitas untuk mendorong empati, pendidikan, dan literasi budaya melalui storytelling. Rona juga lulusan International School of Storytelling Inggris. Jadi ini ada murid dan guru yang akan tampil. Dan teman-teman bisa menyimak karyanya di website ronamentari.com atau Instagram Mentari Rona. Tepuk tangan untuk kedua pendongeng. Baik teman-teman, mari. Sudah siap semua ya? Sudah siap. Yang di atas boleh mendekat ke sini, karena siapa tahu nanti ada yang datang dari sana, tidak harus mencari tempat di depan, silakan dipenuhi saja. Baik, setelah melalui perjalanan kolaborasi yang panjang, mari kita sambut dengan hangat dua pendongeng kita, Rona Mentari dan Roi Gal-Or. Selamat menikmati pertunjukan Storyteller for the Earth, Folktales for the Living Earth.
Listen.
Dengar.
Listen.
Dengar.
Listen.
Dengar.
Listen. Rona, what is your most favorite sound in the world?
I remember being asked that question once. Someone came to me and asked, Rona, what is your favorite sound? And I posed. It was such a simple question, and yet I never really thought about it. And I was searching through my memories. And then my mind stopped in a familiar sound, a gentle sound, a sound filled with love. Ta lila 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 leteng, cup menengok anakku ayu. Anakku sing ayu rupane, yen nangis ndak ilang ayune. Tak kadang bisa urip mulya, dadi wanita kang utama. It was my mother voice singing me to sleep. What about you, Roy? What is your most favorite sound in the world?
I remember when I was little, my grandmother took my youngest sister and I on a special trip on the bus. Sitting. And then we stopped. We got off the bus at the bottom of a hill. And my grandmother said, listen. And I listened. And I heard the sound I've never heard in my life before. It was like a loud splash. And then a hush. It had rhythm and power, but it also kept changing. And then we climbed to the top of that hill, and for the first time in my life, I saw the blue sea. And to this very day, I think My most favorite sound in the world is the sound of the waves crashing against the shore. Across the sea, from where I live in England, there's another country called Ireland. And there's a story they tell in Ireland about a very famous group of warriors called the Fianna. The Fianna were warriors in the ancient times who protected the land and served the king, but they were not just warriors like we have today, fighting. These were people who were also interested in poetry, and they loved nature very much. And their leader was called Finn MacCool. He's a very famous man, and there are lots of stories about him and the Fianna, and one that I love very much is about how the warriors of the Fianna were resting one day after a hunt. And Finn MacCool, he asked his warriors, "Tell me, friends, what is your most favorite sound in the world?" And one of the warriors said, "Well, for me it is the sound of the wind blowing up at the top of the mountains." And Finn MacCool said, "Yes, this is a beautiful sound." And he asked another warrior, "What is your most favorite sound?" "When I play the guitar," he said. And Finn MacCool said, "Yeah, great sound. And you?" "Swarhati." "Indeed, such a beautiful sound," said Finn MacCool. And then the warriors of the Fianna asked Finn, "What is your most favorite sound in the world?" And Finn MacCool said, "The most beautiful sound in the world is the sound of the music of what happens."
Ler iler, tandure wos sumiler, tak ijo royo royo, tak senggo temanten anyar. Ler iler, tandure wos sumiler, tak ijo royo royo, tak senggo temanten anyar. Suwita loro, you're the prettiest girl of all. I wish you will be the queen one day, one day. Suwita loro, you're the prettiest girl of all. I wish you will be the queen one day, one day. Long, long ago, in a small village in Java, there lived a mother and her daughter. Her name is Suwida Loro. Can you say the name?
Suwita Loro.
Okay, ya, bagus ya. Suwida Loro is special because she had only 60 strands of hair and 2 teeth. That's why she called Suwida Loro, which means 62 in our Javanese traditional language. And her mother, she was round and big like the planet Earth. She was as patient as the mountain, rooted as trees, giving as the rivers. And she was the best mother anyone want. Suwida Loro, one day, she looked at herself in the mirror. Then she said, "Mother, look at me. I only have 60 strands of hair and 2 teeth. How can you call me the prettiest, Mom?" "Oh, my dear daughter, even though you're different and not like the other girl, but you are the most beautiful for me." Suwita Loro, you're the prettiest girl of all. I wish you will be the queen one day, one day. Here, I cook your favorite food. Boto. Ada yang suka boto? Suka. Boto is Roi Gal-Or's favorite meal. Roy, try it once. You like it?
Mantap.
Mantap, he said. It was so delicious. Boto is traditional Javanese meal which contain a grilled coconut that has been grated, and then you can also put tempe, apa meneh? Ayam, iso, apa meneh? Ya vegetables boleh. Pete Cina aku ora ngerti bahasane nang bahasa Indonesia. Plandeng ayo kuwi. All steamed inside a banana leaf. And Roi Gal-Or, she ate it until it was all gone. Thank you, mother. Thank you. And yes, her mom will kept on singing every day. Roi Gal-Or, you're the prettiest girl of all. I wish you will be the queen one day, one day. She kept on singing every night till the morning, until one day there was one neighbor who could not bear it anymore. So he decided to complain to the king. Your Majesty, I'm here to report a big problem. What is it? Tell me. Your Majesty, I have a neighbor, an old woman who lived next to my home. She always sang the same song every night and I couldn't sleep. Your Majesty, please help me. Oh. What was the song like? It was like, Roi Gal-Or, you're the prettiest girl of all. I wish you will be the queen one day, one day. Oh. But the king got even more curious after hearing the story. The words stayed in his mind and he thought, perhaps the daughter was truly special if the mother's song was like that. So he decided to ask his guards to bring Roi Gal-Or to the palace. They arrived at Roi Gal-Or's home. Her mother, surprised, but she remained calm. I will let my daughter go, but with one condition. No one can see inside the carriage until they arrive at the palace. The guards agreed. So, before they left, on the way to the palace, her mother held Roi Gal-Or's hand. My dear daughter, I know you're worried, but stay inside the carriage. Do not show yourself to anyone until you arrive at the palace. Here, I cook boto, your favorite meal, for your journey. So they left all the way to the palace. The journey was quiet until suddenly a beautiful goddess appeared inside the carriage. Who are you? You don't have to know who I am. I smell something delicious from up above. What is that? Oh, this is boto, my favorite meal. My mom cooked this for me. Oh, can I have some? It looks so delicious and it smells so good. Of course, you can have it. Let's share. And they ate it all. And when Roi Gal-Or gave her only food to the goddess, she realized the true gift her mother had given her: generosity. Oh, this is so good. Thank you. Thank you, Roi Gal-Or. You are indeed so beautiful. Just like the song said. Do you know my mother's song? Of course I know. I hear it every day. I will give you something in return. You will know once you arrive at the palace. And immediately the goddess disappear. And not long after that, they arrived at the palace. The king was waiting, and she stepped out of the carriage. The sun was smiling like today. The birds were singing. And in that moment, something had changed. Roi Gal-Or truly became the most beautiful girl. And the king fell in love with her. Not long after that, her mother arrived at the palace. And she smiled when she saw beautiful Roi Gal-Or. "Thank you, mother," said Roi Gal-Or. And the king, just like the fairy tale, he proposed marriage to Roi Gal-Or, and she accepted his proposal. And they held a grand wedding, invited all the people to the palace, including the neighbor who once complained. They are all happy, and Roi Gal-Or, she stay inside the palace now, together with her mother. And her mother, she kept on singing. But now, with a little bit different phrase. Roi Gal-Or, you're the prettiest girl of all. You have now found your place and become a queen. Roi Gal-Or, you're the prettiest girl of all. You have now found your place and become a queen.
It's true. The most beautiful sound in the world is the sound of the music, of what happens. Wait a minute, Rona. What I hear happening is temperatures rising and forests being cut and floods destroying the houses of people and people fighting and war. Surely this can't be the most beautiful sound in the world.
Really?
What happened?
Let me check. Oh, you are right. I hear the trees being cut down. I hear the mountain of trash going up and up. I hear war. I hear people shouting. This can't be the most beautiful voice, sound in the world. Oh, I hear a story. Maybe this one can explain. Long, long, long ago, on the breathing shore of West Sumatra, sing it with me. Sumatra. Now louder. Sumatra. Very nice. Once more. Sumatra. When the wind carried stories, when the wind carried stories, stories Once more. Stories. Long, long time ago, on the breathing shore of West Sumatra. Ada yang dari Sumatera Barat di sini? Tepuk tangan dulu dong dari Sumatera Barat. On the breathing shore of West Sumatra, where waves whisper to the sand, and the wind carried stories through coconut trees, there was a mother and her only son. Her mother name was Mande Rubaya, and her son was Malin Kundang. But Mande Rubaya, she was more than a mother. She was as patient as the mountain, rooted as trees, giving as the rivers. And from her care, Malin Kundang grew. Years passed and Malin Kundang grew into a strong young man while Mande became old. One day, a magnificent ship arrived at the village. Malin watched the ship with the shining eyes. Mother, Mother, I must go. Beyond the sea, I will find greatness. Ama, Ambo harus berangke. But Mande was silent. She didn't want to lose her only son. But Malin pleaded, Mother, Mother, an opportunity like this may never come again, Mother. Please, let me go, Mother. I promise, I will return. And then at last, with a heavy heart, Mande gave her blessing. And before the ship sailed away, she said, Malin, come home soon, my son. Come home soon, my son. Days become months, months become years, but no news ever came. Every time people come to the village, Mande will ask, have you seen Malin? Ada yang lihat Malin nggak? Lihat Malin nggak? Ada yang lihat Malin di mana? She was so sad. Her hair turned gray, her back bent with age, but her hope never faded until one day, one captain came to Mande Rubaya and he said, Mande, Mande, I heard your son has become wealthy in a faraway land. I heard your son become rich and famous, and he had married a noble woman. Mande, my son is live. My son is well. Oh, she was so happy. She prayed every day. Oh God, let me see my son. Let me see my son. Until one morning, a big ship anchored the village. And it was the most beautiful ship any villagers had ever seen before. And from that ship stepped out a young couple dressed in a fine clothes. And the moment one they saw the man, her heart leapt. It was Malin. Malin, you have come home, Malin. Oh, she was so happy. She ran to him and embraced him. Malin, Malin, you have come home. You have come home. But Malin looked at her rough hand, her weathered skin, her clothes worn by wind and salt, and he felt shame.
Old woman, I don't know who you are.
Malin, Malin, ikaw ang ma na, ikaw ang ma. Malin, this is your mother. I have waited for you all these years.
You are not my mother.
Oh. Malin, he kicked her mother away. Her heart shattered. She watched her son turn his back to her and walk toward the ship. He denied not only his mother, but his beginning, the soul, the sea, the breath of the wind. She was so sad, broken and trembling. She lifted up her hands to the sky and called, "Could this truly be my son? So hard and cruel, with a heart like a rock." And in that moment, the clouds gathered. The thunder broke. And Malin froze up. He was beginning to turn into stone. Malin, he tried to cry out, "Mother, mother, forgive me, mother, forgive me." But it was too late. It was too late. And to this day, if you go to Air Manis Beach in West Sumatra, you still can see the stone of Malin Kundang kneeling, asking for forgiveness. And you know, Roy, teman-teman semuanya, when I think of this story, I realize that Mande Rubaya, Malin's mother, could also be seen as our Mother Earth. The Mother Earth has been so generous to us. She gives us life to everything that grows. But yet somehow we have drifted away from her. We have forgotten that we were never meant to live above the earth, but beside her, as kin, growing together in quiet companionship. And I wonder, as we hear the news about human destructions nowadays, I hear the war, I hear everything that bad around us happen. Are we become Malin Kundang? What do you think, Roy?
Separation from the earth, separation from each other, separation from animals and plants and putting the human being on top and some people on top of others. There's so many stories happening around this all the time. And there's one in England, the one that we tell in England, that also speak about this kind of forgetfulness or separation and the consequences of it. It begins in the east of England, in a part of the land called or known as the Fens. It's a very vast, flat landscape with very rich and fertile agricultural land. But if you had visited that place in the 17th century, you would have found a completely different landscape. There was more water in those days than land. The whole area was a vast stretch of wetlands with shallow lakes and peat bogs, and the people who lived there were hunters and fishermen and peat diggers. And if you spoke to them, they would tell you about the spirits that lived with them in the land. Ooh, there were lots of these spirits. For example, there was the one known as the Boggart, who was lurking always by the side of the road, up to mischief. And there was the Will-o'-the-Wisp. Will-o'-the-Wisp were mysterious lights that hovered over the land at night, luring, tempting the travelers to leave the safe path so they would drown in the bog. And they also spoke about hands without a body, just hands floating in the air, ready to grab travelers and bring them under the water. Traveling in that part of the land could give you the shivers, not only because of these spirits, but also because of a disease that was very common in that part of the land. Something that the people called the ague, which was like malaria. It causes high fever and shivers. But the people also knew that not all the spirits were bad. In fact, they spoke of one that was very kind and generous and helpful if you honored him. His name was Tidi Man. Can you say his name? Tidi Man. Tidi Man lived in the deep, deep green pool of waters. And he came out only at night when the mists hovered across the water. He was the size of a young child, but he looked like a very, very old man with long gray hair like the mist and a long gray beard. And he often came with the sound of a gust of wind and a splash of water and a laughter like the cry of the peewit bird that lived in that land. Tidi Man, the people said, controlled the water and the tides. Some people said Tidi Man was the water. And he was very helpful. In the years when there were floods and the water levels were rising and threatened to flood the houses of the people, they would wait for the night of the dark new moon, and they would all go down to the river, to the edge of the water or the bog, and they would cry out together, Tidi Man, without a name. Can you say it with me? Tidi Man, without a name. The water is through.
The water is through.
And they would wait, anxious. Until they heard the cry of the peewit bird. And whenever they heard it, they knew Tidi Man had heard their request. And this was his reply. And sure enough, the following morning, the water was gone. The paths were dry. Tidi Man had done it all for them. But in the 17th century, everything changed. King Charles I of England invited some Dutch engineers to drain the water from the fens. He wanted to turn the place, the area, into rich and fertile and profitable agricultural land. So the Dutchmen came, and the Dutchmen dug, and they drew the water into dikes and into ditches, away from the fens, into rivers far away. And the local people were not happy. What would happen with our livelihood? And what would happen of Tidiman? Where would Tidiman live if there was no more water? And then some strange things started happening. Some of the Dutch engineers disappeared. They could not be found. And the local people said, well, this is what happens when you upset Tidiman. He must have drowned them in the puddles or the lakes that still remained. But more workers came, and the digging continued, and the draining continued, and then really bad things started happening. The animals got sick. The cows stopped giving milk, or if they gave milk, it went sour very quickly. Houses started collapsing. The food burnt when you cooked it. And the people thought, no, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad forever. It can't be that Tidiman is causing all of this. But when more children and babies started dying, the people realized they had to do something. And one of them said, do you remember how before the draining began, we always used to go down to the water to ask for Tidiman's help when the water was flooding. Maybe we should do the same now. Maybe we should bring some offerings of water back to Tidiman to say, we're sorry, please take back the spell. The people thought it was a good idea. So they waited for the night of the new moon. And families, households, each person with a bucket full of water, they walked to the edge of the water. And one by one they threw the water into the new river that the Dutch people dug. They said, Tidiman, without a name, here is water for thee. Take back the curse. But there was no reply. And all of a sudden they heard a strange sound. It was the sound of many babies crying without anyone to comfort them. And the many mothers who had lost their children recognized the cry of their children who were dead. And they started crying too. The folklorist who wrote down this story says that some of the women who were there described cold lips, little lips kissing them, and that they felt tiny little hands holding them. And then the noise of the crying was gone just as it came. And the people cried again, Tidiman, without a name, take back the curse. And they listened. It was the peewit. It was Tidiman, reassuring. It was his reply. And sure enough, from the following morning, things got better. The animals got better. The children who were sick healed. Tidiman had taken back the curse. So from that day on, the local villagers would go every month in the new moon, in the night, the dark night of the new moon. They would go with offerings of water to the edge of the water, and they would throw it in and say, Tidiman, without a name, here is water for thee. And sure enough, the peewit bird replied and reassured them that all will be well. Now, this story happened many, many years ago. Nowadays, if you go to the fens, if you go to that part of the land and you speak to the local people, hardly anyone knows of Tidiman. We have forgotten so much. People no longer follow whether the moon is full or whether it's new. People don't know what to do when things are difficult. And the peewit bird? The peewit bird is now on the red list of endangered species. Over the last years, the peewit bird in England have almost completely vanished.
Long time ago, when no one carried a smartphone in their pocket, where food was wrapped in leaves instead of plastics, where drinking from a river was perfectly normal, in the eastern part of Nusantara called Papua, there was a small village named Ibuanari. Bisa sebut namanya bareng-bareng? Ibuanari. But people fear that village. People fear to pass through Ibuanari. Not because of ghosts, not because of social media buzzers, but because for anyone who passed through Ibuanari, they might lose everything they carried. Because the people there love to take what was not theirs. And the chief was the greediest of them all. And among the things they stole, there was one they treasure most. Sagu. Surprising. Because in Ibuanari, sagu didn't grow. So whenever they seize it from others, they will celebrate. Until one day, they brought home more sagu than ever before. There was so much food that anyone in the village held a feast. Under the full moon, they ate, they danced, they sang, they laughed. Until the chief, he looked up at the full moon and he said, it would be taste even better if the moon were our side dish. Yes, I want to eat sagu and the moon. People in the village, they laughed. But the chief was not joking. So in the next day, he gathered all the elders and he declared, I want the moon. Let us take it for ourselves. It was silent in the beginning. But they know when the chief had a desire, it's not something anyone dare to challenge. And then one of the elders said, I have an idea. What if we build a tower so tall until it reaches the moon so we can pluck it from the sky? How? The chief's eyes blazed and he said, that's a good idea. Yes, yes, we will build the tallest tower to take the moon. Yes, we will build the tallest tower to take the moon.
One by one, the forests were felled. tree after tree falling to the ground. The people of Ibuanari dragged the wood to the place where they were to build a tower. Higher and higher, they constructed a tower. Slowly and surely it rose up, reaching the sky.
Trees going down, no mercy, no sound. Forest after forest falling to the ground.
Trees falling down, no mercy, no sound. Forest after forest falling to the ground.
Higher, higher, reaching the sky. Nobody asking why the forest die.
Higher and higher, reaching the sky, and nobody's asking why the forest die.
And they climbed higher and higher. They believed they would touch the moon and eat moon with sagu. The Greeks were cutting down the tower. They made the tallest tower. People climbed higher and higher until a sound split the night. Crack!
The tower is cracking.
But the chief snapped, "That is just your hungry stomach rumbling. Come on, let us take it for ourselves. Let's go, we will eat the moon tonight." Too much wanting, too much pride, too much pride. And then the tower blew.
No!
People are falling. People are falling. People are falling. And the next morning, Ibuanari was covered in grief. Families were gone, all for trying to possess what was never meant to be owned. And for the people who left behind, they wandered. They wandered in search of another place to live. They wandered in search of another place to live. Apuse kokondaon yarabe sorendoreri uflenso baninema baki pase apuse kokondaon yarabe sorendoreri uflenso baninema baki pase arafabe aswarawa arafabe aswarawa where will they go? Where? Could they come to live in England, Roy?
In England. Rona, have you not heard how challenging it is to get a visa to enter the UK?
No, yes.
And trust me, there are plenty of greedy and disconnected people in England too, if they manage to get in. It makes me think of one of them. There was once a very rich and quite greedy man who was looking for a new place to live or another place to live. And he spotted an old manor house in a very small village by the river Parrot. So he bought it. And before he moved in, he made sure that he would swap all the old rooms with new modern technology and good, making them nice and beautiful. And when at last he moved in for the first time, he drew the curtains of his living room to look outside. And what he saw made him very upset. So he called the gardener who had worked in that land before he bought the house. Gardener, do you see the 2 rows of oak trees over there? I don't like how their trees grow in the wrong directions. And their leaves, when they fall, they make a terrible mess. I want you to chop them down. And if you're already doing this work, do you see this meadow of wild flowers that lead all the way down to the river? I want you to get rid of it, flatten it, sow it with grass, so I can have picnics with my friends. And while you're at it, also, I don't like the river, the way it's meandering over there. Make it straight. Dig the banks and make it straight. Okay? The gardener was shocked. Excuse me, sir, but these are more than 200 years old oak trees. Each one of them provides food and shelter and is interconnected with so many other species. More than 2,300 species are connected to the oak. Insects and animals and birds and fungi and... Excuse me! I didn't call you to give me a lecture about nature. I want you to obey my orders. The gardener obeyed. And one by one, the old oak trees were felled. Then the beautiful meadow of wild flowers was replaced with a neat carpet of grass. And the river was made to run in a straight line. And the rich man was pleased. He was very happy, but only for 2 or 3 days. Because about 3 days later, when he opened the curtains one morning, to his horror, he saw that the new grass that was sown was covered with brown mounds of earth in every direction. There were thousands of them. Gardener, what's going on now? Well, my lord, I'm sorry, but this is what we call mole hills. What are mole hills? Moles are little creatures that live under the ground and they dig tunnels. In Indonesia, sir, they call them tikustana. Have you heard of them? Yeah, there's some Indonesians here. The tikustana, you can see it, my lord, as an earth healer. It comes to hard places and it turns the soil and it brings in some oxygen and some life back. They must have felt the damage that was caused to the earth. Well, they are invaders. Invaders in my land. Kill them. Kill them all. My lord, excuse me. For the next months, all the villagers in the village were busy hunting down the moles. There were so many dead moles, so many skins and furs of moles that the local villagers started making fabrics from them. They made cloths, even nappies for the babies. When the last molehill was flattened and the grass was resowed, there were no more tikustana. The rich man was happy. But only for 2 or 3 days, because 3 days later, when he pulled the curtains and he looked out, he saw to his horror huge mounds of brown earth. They were maybe 10 or 20 times bigger than the previous molehills. They were massive and they were everywhere. Gardener, gardener, what is going on now? The gardener was trying to hide his smile. My lord, I'm afraid these were made by the king of the moles, the king of Tikustanas. He must have felt the harm that you have done to his people, and he came to take revenge. Well, kill him! Kill him! Get rid of him! My lord, you don't understand anything about moles or the king of the moles, but there's nobody can catch the king of the moles. In fact, they say that maybe there's just one being on this earth that could do it. He is known as Mickey the Mole. But Mickey the Mole is a traveler. He travels across the land. It's very hard to find him. I'm afraid that, please find Mickey the Mole for me. I will do my best, my lord. 3 weeks later, the gardener came back, and following him was a strange-looking creature. Master, I have found Mickey the Mole. I have found him. He was asleep in the last ditch, the only place in your land that you haven't turned up. He was there asleep. I have found him for you. And the rich man looked at Mickey the Mole, and Mickey the Mole had little gray hair growing everywhere on his body. His mustache looked a little bit like whiskers. He had tiny little eyes and a little pink snout and 2 little yellow teeth. They were not as nice as Subidaloro's one. They were kind of... And his hands looked more like paws. Mickey the Mole, if you will find the king of the moles and bring him to me, I will give you a bag of gold. I would like to look in the eyes of this creature who has wrecked my garden before I kill him. Okay. 2 weeks later, Mickey the Mole came dragging back to the house of the rich man a large cage, and in this cage sat the biggest tikustana you had ever seen. It was the size of a horse, and it had a golden crown and a necklace made of human teeth. The rich man took a look at this king of the moles and he said, Mickey the Mole, such an ugly beast deserves the most horrible death. If you will take him away and just find the most horrible way of killing him, I will give you another bag of gold. And he gave Mickey 1 bag of gold. And Mickey nodded and he went away. Sometime later, Mickey came back alone. And the rich man was so excited. He wanted to hear, how did Mickey kill the king of the moles? What did you do? Did you burn him? Did you shoot him? Did you stab him with a knife? Tell me, tell me. No, sir. I have given him a far worse ending. I took the king of the moles and I buried him in the ground, alive. The rich man thought this was such a horrible death. He didn't realize he was tricked. He gave Mickey another bag of gold, and Mickey left. But then the rains came. And the rain was harder and longer and heavier than ever before. And because there was no more oak trees to hold the soil and drink the water, there was no more meandering of a river to slow the river down. There was no more of a slope to protect the house, and there were no mole tunnels to drain the water. The river burst its bank, and the water crashed against the house of the rich man and dragged him out of the window into the stream of water. And the gardener saw this. The gardener quickly climbed into a rowing boat, and he started rowing, and behind him he dragged a small round little boat that we call a coracle. A coracle is made of willow and skins, lots of mole skins. He rowed to the rich man in the water, he lifted him up, he helped him to the coracle, and then he cut the rope. And the rich man drifted away to the sea. He was never seen again. But the land remained. And if you manage to get a visa and get today to a place in Somerset called Barrow Bridge, you will find a big mound of earth that looks a little bit like a giant molehill. It's called Barrow Mump. And the local people say that if you listen very carefully on a quiet night, you may be able to listen and hear from the inside the king of the moles and Mickey the mole counting their gold and laughing at the foolishness of human beings.
Your phone? I don't
Yours?
bring my phone, no?
Anyone's phone? I thought there was no connection here.
Oh.
Hello? The sea. The sea is calling with a poem from the poet Mary Oliver. I walk down to the shore in the morning, and depending on the time of day, the waves are rolling in or moving out. And I say, "Oh, I am miserable. What should I do?" And the sea says in its lovely voice, "Excuse me, I have work to do." Not so very long ago, in a place called Brighton, in East Sussex, there was a young boy called Eric Smith who loved diving under the sea. He loved diving under the sea because he knew that under the water there were forests, real forests waiting for him. These were forests of alga, kelp forests. Some of the most rich and incredible ecosystems that we have under the water, providing shelter and food for so many creatures. But as Eric grew older, he realized that as the world was getting noisier and faster under the water, things were growing quieter and quieter. He saw less and less fish and less of the kelp forests. And one day he saw two big fishing boats, trawlers, dragging big nets behind them that scraped and cut the algae, the kelp, caught fish, and left absolute destruction behind them. Eric Smith thought that he couldn't believe that human beings could do something like this. But the truth is that over the last 50 years, during Eric's life, in some places around the UK shore, more than 96% of the kelp forests have vanished. And the people on the land didn't know anything about it. But Eric had seen it with his eyes. So Eric knew that he had to do something about it. He started writing letters, he took photos, he spoke to people. Some of the neighbors joined him. His daughter joined him. Scientists, fishermen, activists, and a movement to save the kelp forests was born. With time, 5 years ago, the law changed. Thanks to Sussex Underwater and the Sussex Kelp Recovery Project, Eric Smith and his daughter and all the other people who joined the movement, the law changed. And now it is forbidden to do trawling in the Sussex Bay. One of the biggest rewilding marine projects came to life. And now, 5 years later, we can see the early fruits of this change of regulations. Some of the fish are coming back, and in some places the kelp is beginning to grow. The sea was given time and space and rest. The sea has work to do. And we hope that the sea remembers how to heal.
Wow. Tepuk tangan buat Eric Smith dan Sussex Underwater Movement. I remember when I was child, my ancestor, my grandfather, grandmother used to call tiger as Simba. Grandfather tiger. Ada yang pernah dengar juga nggak? At first I thought it was funny, even though they said it in a complete seriousness. But then I realized how closely our ancestor with other living beings like animal, plant, trees, and they treat them not as an object, but as relative, as family, as grandfather. And we know in Javanese culture how we expected to treat our elders. We have to care for them. We have to respect them. We show them respect. So it was, as I grew older, I realized it was such an amazing thought. Di Indonesia banyak juga inisiatif. Di Jogja ada sekolah pagesangan di Gunung Kidul. Mereka memberikan pendidikan, membuka kelas untuk anak-anak di sekitarnya, mempelajari tanaman-tanaman yang ada di sekitarnya. Saya ke sana, kemudian melihat anak-anak jumlahnya nggak banyak 10 orang, tapi mereka bawa kertas. Mereka tulis tanaman-tanaman yang ada di sekitarnya, mereka lihat, mereka gambar, mereka cari tahu fungsinya apa. Bayangin kalau misalnya anak-anak itu besar, tumbuh dewasa, mereka nggak akan tuh merusak alam, karena mereka punya kedekatan sama alam. Dari kecil mereka tuh belajar. Kemudian ada teman-teman dari masyarakat Indonesia rendah karbon. Mereka membuat sebuah hutan kota, hutan di tengah kota, menanam sekitar 21 jenis tanaman. Seperti hutan, jadi nggak monoculture ya, nggak monokultur, kok culture jadinya, monokultur. Kemudian dari 21 tanaman itu ada satu tanaman endemik namanya mentau. Pernah dengar nggak? Pernah. Bagus, berarti kalian orang Jogja sesungguhnya. Mentawak itu tanaman endemik di kota Jogja. Kemudian mereka menanam hampir 500 tanaman dan itu jadi bagian dari oase di tengah krisis iklim ini. Kemudian ada juga komunitas resan di Gunung Kidul lagi. Mana suaranya Gunung Kidul? Mereka menjaga pohon yang punya resapan-resapan air, kemudian yang menjaganya biar pohon-pohon resapan air itu terjaga. Akhirnya nggak gersang gitu ya. Itu dilakukan secara swadaya bersama-sama. So, Roy, you are living on an island called United Kingdom, the place yang kita sulit dapat visa. And we are all living on an island called Java. But we are all in this together. We are all moving between despair and hope. Can you say Meliori for Pum again, please?
I walk down to the shore in the morning. And depending on the time, the waves are rolling in or moving out. And I say, oh, I am miserable. What should I do? And the sea says, in its lovely voice, excuse me, I have work to do.
If the sea has work to do, what can we people do? What can we do facing this climate crisis?
We will leave you with one last story to contemplate this question, as we are. We don't have answers, only stories. A little story. Once there was a great storm, and this storm washed to the shore thousands of little starfish. And a little girl, she came down to the shore after the storm, and she saw all the many starfish, and whenever she reached one, she bent down and threw it into the water. One by one, she did this for a very long time. She worked for many hours, and at a certain point, an old man who was walking in the opposite direction along the shore came and saw what she was doing, and the old man said to her,
Little girl, look, the beach is straightened in so many kilometers. The starfish is so many. You can't possibly save all these starfish. You can't even begin to make a difference. You can't even begin to make a difference.
The girl didn't answer. She just continued doing what she was doing. She picked a starfish and she threw it into the water. It made a difference to that one.
The old man paused, and he smiled. Then he joined the little girl, throwing the starfish back to the sea.
river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth, carry me, your child I will always be. Mother Earth, carry me back to the sea.
Kalau mau nyanyi bareng-bareng boleh, ada di kertasnya ya.
The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth, carry me, a child I will always be. Mother Earth, carry